Hello, my name is Christopher Renstrom. I'm the creator of rulingplanets.com and Christopher Renstrom Astrology. And I want to welcome you to my November horoscope forecast for the year 2024. On November 1st, we will have a new moon in the zodiac sign of Scorpio. New moons are always associated with the dark of the moon. That's because this is the time of the month when the moon is not visible in the sky. It's because the moon is very close to the sun, so close that it is no longer reflecting the sun's light and cannot be found anywhere in the nighttime skies. New moons traditionally have always been associated with the planting of seeds, the planting of new intentions. Now, when we plant a seed in the spring, for instance, we expect the seed to sprout within a few days or maybe even a couple of weeks. We expect the seed to sprout and then begin to grow. But when you plant a seed in the autumn, which is the season of Scorpio, these seeds don't produce immediate results. These seeds, in fact, go into a kind of hibernation. That's why so many spring bulbs and seeds are planted in the autumn. It's not with the expectation that they will sprout and grow right away, but it's with knowing that they will sleep for a long time, that they will go into hibernation, and will eventually, when the sun returns after its departure at the end of the agricultural year, which is in the autumn, that the seeds will then come to life. So this is a heavier time, emotionally speaking. And indeed, there is a difference between the moon in Cancer and the moon in Scorpio. A moon in Cancer is associated with the season of abundance. That's because Cancer is the zodiac sign that's associated with the summer solstice. And summer is seen as a time of abundance when everything bursts with life and you have no worries of scarcity or doing without. The moon in Scorpio is a different moon. Indeed, it is said that the moon in Scorpio is a moon in fall. Not only fall as in the autumn, but fall in that it doesn't give life right away, that it is seen as a time of darkness. It's seen as a time of hardness. It's during the fall, it's during the time that the sun is in the zodiac sign of Scorpio, that days grow shorter and shadows grow longer. Everything that had been abundant in summer has disappeared by the time that we are in the season of Scorpio. So a new moon in Scorpio taking place on November 1st, this talks about darker sentiments. This talks about darker emotions, emotions that we all have, but emotions that we might not be so willing to talk about, much less own or recognize. During this period of time, you may feel like the emotions have become heavier, that they've become more intense. Now, if you're born under a sign that's not really comfortable with that, then you're going to feel like there's this kind of gloom that you can't really escape, that you don't really like it. It might even be a period of time when you just don't want to deal with what's going on in the world nowadays. But if you're born under a zodiac sign which is attuned to these types of energies, these tend to be more along the lines of signs that are in the element of water or in the element of earth, basically signs that are associated with having a familiarity with the darker side of life, then this is a period of time when you're going to be needed. This is a period of time in which people will be seeking you out. Now, why will people be seeking you out? Will they be seeking you out for your witty, sarcastic remark? Will they be seeking you out for your tough love? Will they be seeking you out because of your famous bedside manner, which happens to resemble an iceberg? No, that's not the reason they're seeking you out. The reason is because people are going to feel like you get it, like you know what it's like to have these darker emotions, these more intense feelings. You've been there, you've done that, you're experienced, and you are someone that they can talk to. Now, if you're born under, let's say, a Scorpio or a Capricorn, your first reaction might be like, oh, now you need me. It might be a little bit more standoffish or aloof or distant particularly if it's someone that you know who's been very cavalier and superficial and maybe even a bit obnoxious around you. All right. But during this period of time, even if you have a strong Saturn in your chart, even if you have a strong Pluto in your chart, on a deep emotional level, you will recognize that you are needed. You will recognize that someone is opening up to you in a different way. Now, the way that a Scorpio moon nurtures is very different from the way that a Cancer moon energy nurtures. Okay, a Cancer moon tends to be more motherly, more nurturing, more gathering you up into its arms and feeding you and making you feel cherished and loved and beloved and held close. A Scorpio moon is no less maternal. A Scorpio moon is no less nurturing. But a Scorpio moon has been around the block. Scorpio moon has suffered a great deal of pain. A Scorpio moon is not a hard moon, but it's a calloused moon, meaning that there's a lot of pain and suffering, disappointment and rejection, which has gone into its emotional wisdom. Now, this could produce someone who, as I said before, is very skeptical, very cynical, maybe even very suspicious. But a Scorpio moon is still a watery moon. It's still a loving moon. So underneath that facade, shall we say, of suspicion or cynicism or putting people off, underneath that is someone who has felt pain, who knows what it's like, and who knows what it's like to have been betrayed, or who knows what it's like to be lost. This is the sort of energy that's being summoned forth now. Whether you're the person who needs to talk to someone who knows what it's like, or whether you're someone that someone has come to talk to share, to unburden what's going on, you will feel an immediate emotional rapport. You will recognize the need. And even if it's someone that you can't stand who's turning to you for help and for solace and for guidance, you just won't be able to deny it. You can't help but be there for that person. And by being there for that person, not only will you be there for that person, but you will also be there for yourself. Signs most affected are Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. On November 2nd, Mercury, the planet of communication, will form a trine to Mars, the planet of power and drive. Now, what's going on here with this trine is that it's taking place between two zodiac signs. Mars is in Cancer and Mercury is in Scorpio. These two signs are of like element. Cancer is a water sign. Scorpio is a water sign. So what's going on here with the trine is that there is an energy of rapport. There is an energy of support. There is an energy of empathy and understanding. The two planets essentially get one another, and they have a mission. They have a shared mission, and that shared mission is a watery one. Now, because this trine is a departing trine, which means that Mars is in a zodiac sign that appears earlier in the year than Scorpio does. Scorpio is where Mercury is now positioned. Mars is supporting Mercury to speak up, to talk about something, probably something that's of a very delicate or sensitive matter. Whenever you have a Mercury-Mars trine, this is pretty much what I call the "do you want to talk about it" trine in astrology. Here, where Mercury in Scorpio might be a little bit more pointed or on edge with the way that it wants to communicate the information, Mars in Cancer is taking on a much more nurturing and supportive role. Now, that doesn't mean that Mars is going to get all soft and fluffy, because it's in the zodiac sign of Cancer. What it means is that Mars is going to take on a more parental type of role. So there will be a natural understanding that this is a very vulnerable moment and that one needs to be humble and that one needs to be sensitive. So this is a period of time in which you may feel like you can discuss a matter which has been troubling you but you're not going to be saying, I'm bringing this up because I'm really angry at you and like, giving the person a scorecard list of all the grievances and all the horrible things that they've done to you. It's going to carry a more nurturing Cancerian quality, which blends with the Mercury. In other words, it can be like, I've been upset about this matter and I really want to discuss it with you. And I would imagine that you've been upset about this too. So let's find a way to talk about this together. The intent is to not only divulge or to bring up a very sensitive matter, but to also bond with it. What happens when you have a trine here between Mercury and Mars is that you have an automatic understanding of what the other person is feeling. This is the great gift of water. Water signs can put themselves in the shoes of the person at the opposite end of the table. It's more than guessing what their motivation is. It's more of a sense of like, well, if I were that person on the other side of the table, I would be feeling nervous about a topic being brought up. I might feel a bit defensive. I might feel like deflecting it or not talking about it right now. And so the benefit of this Mercury-Mars trine is that you'll be able to put the other person at ease. You'll be able to project a feeling of understanding and compassion that gets the other person to listen to you, and you can have a very constructive conversation. Now, in a perfect world, this is how all of our conversations would go. But in a perfect world, we don't all have conversations during a period of time when Mercury is trining Mars in water signs. So that's the great benefit of it. Go ahead and bring up a topic that you're not particularly comfortable bringing up, and you'll find that the other person is receptive to what you have to say, and that the ebb and flow of the conversation, the fluidity of the conversation, allows you to talk about these things from a place of rapport and understanding, and to bring you together in a way where no one feels like they're losing to the other side. The signs most affected are Gemini, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, and Pisces. Now, another planetary aspect that will be taking place on November 2nd is that Mercury will be forming a sextile to Pluto. It's a good idea to not take things at face value when Mercury, the planet of inquiring minds, forms a sextile to Pluto, the planet of hidden agendas. This brings out all of your investigative tendencies because the pieces to a puzzle just aren't fitting in the way that you think they should. This could pertain to a work situation, a financial transaction, or even your date's flimsy excuse for canceling on you last minute. Indeed, the more you push for answers, the more question marks fly up instead. Nevertheless, follow these inconsistencies wherever they may lead, and you will surely get to the bottom of the situation. Signs most affected are Gemini, Virgo, Scorpio, and Capricorn. And then the last aspect that will be taking place on November 2nd is that Mercury will enter the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. Your outlook improves tremendously now that Mercury, planet of the mind, is in the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is famous for its unbridled optimism, its enthusiasm, and unshakable faith that everything will turn out well in the end, and it often does. The sign is also famous for comebacks. It won't lie in the dirt if it's been thrown from a horse. It will pick itself up by the bootstraps, dust itself off, and climb back on board again. Now, the past few weeks may have thrown you for a loop, but if any planet can recoup losses and turn them into profitable gains, it's Mercury in the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. Signs most affected are Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. On November 3rd, Mars, in the zodiac sign of Cancer, forms its last opposition to Pluto in the zodiac sign of Capricorn. This is as intense as it sounds, mostly because Mars will be at the last degree of Cancer, forming its last opposition to Pluto in Capricorn, meaning they will never form this opposition again in our lifetimes. So as you can imagine, this Mars in Cancer is going to bring a lot of things up to the surface. All right, these may be emotions and hurts and grudges that have been simmering for a very long time. And it's when it forms into an opposition with Pluto and Capricorn that they come bursting out. Now, you may feel like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Emotionally speaking, you can't take any more of what your current living and or employment situation demands. Yet, financially speaking, it doesn't look like you have the resources to make a go of it on your own. Given that Pluto is the stronger planet, it looks like you'll try to tell yourself to bite the bullet and make the best of things for now. And that's probably what you would have done in the past. However, Mars is at the 29th degree of Cancer, and it's changing signs today. What that means is that there will be a shift in the planetary power structure that's going on between these two planets. And where you might have told yourself before to back off and to make do, or that this isn't really the right time, instead, you might find yourself suddenly surging forward with this terrific Mars energy and saying and doing things that will even surprise you. Signs most affected are Aries, Cancer, Scorpio, and Capricorn. Now, following on the heels of this oppositional energy, on the same day, in fact, Mars enters the zodiac sign of Leo, and right away, there's an enormous energy shift. Mars is no longer in Cancer, where it's been very emotional, where it's been very roundabout in the way that it approaches matters and situations, where it's been probably reluctant to discuss something that might get other people angry. Mars in Cancer might also at times accept that it's not going to be the head of the pack, that it's not going to be at the front of the line, and that if it waits and is patient, it will eventually be recognized. That's not the feeling of Mars and Leo. With Mars switching over to Leo, you're going to suddenly feel seen. You're going to suddenly feel recognized. You're going to suddenly feel very triumphant. Nothing short of your personal best will do now that Mars is in the zodiac sign of Leo. And you will do everything in your power over the next 4 weeks to exceed expectations. Now, it doesn't matter if you're running for president of the United States or competing in a bake-off. If you can think of a way to improve your performance, you will immediately put that into action. You won't wait to see what others think, and you won't be big on listening to advice. You'll be asking yourself, why settle for progressing inch by inch when you can score a big touchdown or a home run? Indeed, given your love of excitement, now that Mars is in the zodiac sign of Leo, the more down to the wire that things get, the better your performance will be. Signs most affected are Aries, Leo, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. On November 4th, the Sun forms a trine to Saturn. Saturn always rewards those who rise to its challenges, as long as you espouse the Saturnian virtues of patience, persistence, and grit. We will often blame Saturn for not giving us what we want when we want it, or for making us struggle or work really hard. But, like a good teacher, Saturn won't make things easier by lowering the bar. Saturn will wait for us to figure it out. And yes, it can be all kinds of frustrating and even dispiriting trying to work out how to fix a problem. But once you do figure out the solution to your problem, you will become the master of it, and it will never, ever bedevil you in the same way again. Signs most affected are Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. On November 9th, there will be a first quarter moon in the zodiac sign of Aquarius. This is the time to experiment with new ideas and fresh approaches. Clients, customers, and patrons are tired of the same old, and they long for something daringly different. On one hand, this quarter moon will give you tremendous artistic freedom and license. However, it can also be quite maddening as you realize that said client or patron doesn't really know what they want, and they will keep asking you to change this or that in the expectation that eventually they'll recognize what it is that they're looking for. What you want to do with this first quarter moon in Aquarius is take the initiative by moving ahead with your plans and proposals instead of trying to figure out theirs. Once you go ahead and do this, you will see them gradually accepting the way that you want to do things and coming into fuller and warmer agreement. And eventually, you will see them signing on to the way that you want to do things, probably by November 21st. Signs most affected are Cancer, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Now, another planetary aspect that will be taking place on November 9th is Venus will be forming a square to Neptune. Friends will say that you're over-romanticizing things, and that's probably true. It's been known to happen when Venus, the planet of love, forms a square to Neptune, the planet of rapture and illusion. Venus doesn't ever want to say no to romance, and Neptune doesn't want to break that lovely spell. But what's the harm in it, really? Wouldn't you rather be in love than out of it? As the Countess de Laube says in Claire Booth Luce's play The Women, "Oh, l'amour, how it can let you down, and oh, how it can pick you back up again." Signs most affected are Taurus, Libra, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On November 11th, we can expect a dramatic shift in disposition when Venus enters the zodiac sign of Capricorn. Venus means serious business when she's traveling through the zodiac sign of Capricorn, which will be from November 11th until December 7th. Dates will feel more like job interviews. As you size up his wardrobe, listen to him rattle off his relationship resume, and secretly run a Google search on how much he really makes. And if you're already seeing someone, then this period of time is when you will want to lock in a commitment, followed by a timetable for living together or even marriage. And if the guy you're seeing can't give you a straightforward answer about the solidity of your future together, then this will be the time when you kick him to the side of the curb. You don't want to waste your time with boys when you're on the lookout for men. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. On November 12th, Mercury will form a square to Saturn. Your guru isn't having a good day. And if it's not your guru, then it might be your life coach, mentor, yoga instructor, or counselor. In any case, it's clear that this person's judgment is off, and the advice that they're giving is more than just a little skewed. Now, you might try correcting this person, and if they're as self-aware as they profess, then they should cop to it, and everything will be fine. But what if they don't? Well, you could find yourself in a bit of a moral quandary. It's unsettling, to be sure, but it's also good for you, because the point of any spiritual journey is to get to a place where you are the agent of your own enlightenment. Signs most affected are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. On November 15th, Saturn comes out of retrograde. Saturn, the planet of tests, trials, and tribulations, comes out of retrograde today. This brings to an end 4 months of feeling like you were driving up a steep hill with the emergency brake on. You will feel the change in energy immediately, and you can expect to make up for lost time. Don't be so quick to write off the last 4 months either. You learned a lot of things about constancy, persistence, and a little thing called discipline. You will be able to draw from this experience and apply the lessons you learned to your life. Remember that Saturn is a teacher, not a tyrant, a builder, and not a destroyer. Signs most affected are Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. On November 16th, the Sun will form an opposition to Uranus. There are powerful, separating energies coursing through your horoscope now, so it's best to get out of the way and to let circumstances play themselves out. This may leave your rational mind reeling, but in your heart of hearts, you know that it's for the best. There's always a greater design at work whenever Uranus, the planet of revolution and change, is involved. Uranus doesn't affect change for change's sake. Uranus affects change in order to get things right. Now, it may take a while to make sense of everything that's going down, but you'll get a clearer idea of where your life is heading after the Sun sextiles Pluto on November 21st. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. On November 18th, Mercury will form an opposition to Jupiter. It's going to feel like one drawn-out version of Opposite Day as Mercury opposes Jupiter in the sky. You can expect people to be contrary for contrary's sake, to flip-flop on long-held positions, and to reverse direction as crazily as a weather vane in a tornado. What can make this whole thing maddening is that they will have no knowledge or memory of what they are doing. Everyone will suffer from a cosmic case of collective amnesia until this planetary energy lifts, which will be on November 23rd. The best way to negotiate this is to avoid any arguments for argument's sake, and maybe to practice some reverse psychology of your own. Signs most affected are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On November 18th, the Sun in Scorpio will form a trine to Neptune in Pisces. Physical wounds heal, whereas emotional wounds will refresh themselves every time you remember them. This can become a repetitive cycle if you're not careful, and it can prevent you from moving forward in your life and experiencing the kind of love and intimacy you crave. You will have to ask yourself if it's better for you to be hurt or if it's better for you to heal. It's a tough question, and as long as you identify with the pain, then there will be no gain. The miracle of forgiveness lies in the power to erase the hold that people have over you. You may never get the justice you seek, but you don't need it to live the life you want. Signs most affected are Cancer, Leo, Scorpio, and Pisces. Pluto re-enters the zodiac sign of Aquarius on November 19th. Pluto, re-entering the Tomorrowland sign of Aquarius, switches its focus from a gloomy fixation on the past, Capricorn, to a zealous commitment to the future, Aquarius. No more talking about what you could do one day, because that day is here and now. You will see changes you thought lay further down the road occur with dizzying speed. It can be exhilarating to see how quickly the impossible becomes possible. But remember that Pluto is a planet that comes with hidden costs. You can think of it as the careful what you might wish for, because it might just come true, planet. This needn't stifle your aspirations, but it should inform them. The important thing to keep in mind is that we are all connected. In other words, every interaction matters when Pluto is traveling through the zodiac sign of people and the societies they form. You may think that what you do is inconsequential, that you're only one person, and who cares about that? But that would be like saying that a butterfly flapping its wings has nothing to do with the tornado that's occurring half a world away. Signs most affected are Taurus, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Scorpio, and Aquarius. During this period of time, when the Sun is traveling through the zodiac sign of Sagittarius, that's from November 21st until December 20th, we expand our horizons, both physically and metaphysically. We welcome cultures, that differ from ours and greet them with open hands, open hearts, and open minds. This is the time of year when we reset our moral compass. Perhaps this is inspired by the people who gather under our roof for the holidays? Or perhaps this is inspired by the people who have no roof to sleep under or bed to call their own. Certainly, charity, benevolence, and goodwill is in the air. Sagittarius is a zodiac sign that's all about our higher purpose. It's entwined with humanitarian causes, ranging from environmental concerns to human rights and economic equality. The most worldly of the zodiac signs, Sagittarius is committed to leaving the world a better place than they found it. Signs most affected are Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Now, another planetary aspect that will be taking place on November 21st is the Sun forming a sextile to Pluto. You have big ideas, but lack the means and resources to make them happen, until now. The Sun and Pluto forming a sextile puts you in touch with an influential client or a supportive patron who has deep pockets and even higher placed connections. This is the person who can truly take your business to the next level. Just remember that there's always some kind of trade-off when Pluto energy is involved, because nothing worth having comes for free in this world, which means that you may have to give away some of your autonomy, perhaps even share some of the credit for the idea that you came up with. But you'll soon see that it's a small price to pay in order to see your dreams come true. Signs most affected are Cancer, Leo, Scorpio, and Capricorn. On November 22nd, Venus will form a sextile to Saturn. You will be asked to revisit a decision you made recently. Now, being asked to review a matter can be tricky because it makes us question our own resolve. This may lead us into a collapsing domino row of second thoughts or cause us to maybe even harden our stance because we feel like we are being undermined and we don't want to come across as weak. Thankfully, Venus has a softening effect on Saturn's taciturn nature, which means that you're open to input and willing to re-examine the situation in light of present circumstances. Clearly, things have shifted in such a way that you can come up with a revised agreement, an agreement that will leave both parties happy with the outcome. Signs most affected are Taurus, Libra, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. The other planetary aspect that will be taking place on November 22nd is the last quarter moon in Virgo. It's time to wrap things up and bring it in for a landing. You've done all the negotiating there is to do, and you're ready to seal the deal. The last quarter moon in Virgo is propitiously placed, which means that you and the other party are looking at the best possible terms. But what if the other party still wants to haggle over this and that? Then leave the table, because it's clear that this person was never serious about doing business in the first place. There's a lot of fire energy that's coursing through your horoscope right now, and you don't want to get stuck with a dud when you can move on to bigger and better things. You are that much in demand. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, and Capricorn. On November 25th, Mercury turns retrograde in Sagittarius. Yep, it's that time of year again. Mercury is turning retrograde. In case you didn't know already, Mercury turns retrograde in a zodiac sign 3 times a year. So this is the last time this year that Mercury will be turning retrograde. Mercury retrogrades are pretty famous. We were told that during a period of time when Mercury is retrograde, this isn't the time for buying and selling. This isn't a time to sign a contract or a deal. And this isn't a time to make any sort of big purchases in your life. Because if you do, chances are it will fall apart. Now, other things that can happen during Mercury being retrograde is that it can throw cosmic monkey wrench into the daily workings of our day-to-day life. Things like your coffee maker suddenly going on the fritz, your computer getting a virus, or your car needing to be taken into the shop. These are all things that occur during the period of time that Mercury is retrograde. That's why it's always a good idea to apply Murphy's Law. Are you familiar with Murphy's Law? Well, if you're not familiar with Murphy's Law, it goes like this: anything that can go wrong will. All right? So, if you keep that in mind with any sort of transactions or exchanges you make during this period of time, you should be able to do all right. You want to be a little bit cautious, you want to double check things, and you want to check out the fine print before you sign on to anything. Let's face it, we all can't take 2.5 weeks off of our life and not conduct any sort of business during the time that Mercury is retrograde. But we can be smart about it. All right? So if you go into situations with knowing exactly what you're getting into, with having read the fine print, and allowing for any sort of delays and postponements, then you should emerge from this tricky period no worse for wear. Mercury will be retrograde from November 25th until December 16th. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, and Sagittarius. On November 27th, the Sun forms a trine to Mars. You finally accomplish what you set out to do, and the end result will be better than you ever imagined. So go ahead and treat yourself to a victory lap because you deserve it. But also remember that your gain is bound to attract the envy of others. So make a point of sharing some of your own good fortune. Maybe it's sharing some of the credit, a piece of the action, or division of the spoils. You'll find that this goodwill gesture is one of the wisest investments that you could ever make. And it doesn't matter if people are deserving of your generosity or not. The fact that you're inviting them to come sit and eat at your table in the spirit of bonhomie will make them think twice about coveting what you have. Signs most affected are Aries, Leo, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. If you enjoyed what you saw, please press the like button. It helps more than you know. If you could subscribe, that would be wonderful. I've had such a wonderful time visiting with you this week, and I can't wait to get together next time on Christopher Renstrom Astrology.